President Trump declaring the United States has entered its golden age thanks to his tax cuts, deregulation, and trade agenda. The administration says Americans are earning more and jobs are returning to the private sector.
We're not only making people's paychecks go up. We mentioned the $1,400 that's the average American gained in real income last year. That's just about the pace we had last time for President Trump's first term. So we are creating real wage growth. The number of government workers in the U.S. is the lowest it's been since 1966, and as a share of the labor force, it's the lowest ever. And that's the kind of big change that makes it so that we can move towards balanced budgets, get interest rates down, and so on.
And the White House is getting the message out on the economy this week. Vice President J.D. Vance is touring a machining facility in Wisconsin today, and the president is expected to visit Texas tomorrow. So, Larry, you laid out this blueprint for the administration many times over the past several weeks and months. Get out there, tell the story, use the data. Looks like they listened to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The president said, when I sat with him, he said, we have to get it out, or something like that, and he was right. And I think that the speech, I only look at certain polls. Polls are polls. CNN polls showed him, what was it, 54 before the speech, 64 after the speech. There'll be a million polls, but I don't care about the polls. I think he got it out. I mean, I think he did a great job, and I think it was epic, to use Jackie's throwaway in the elevator the other day, which I promptly put in my riff. Thank you. But it was also it was a captivating speech, very using real-world people to illustrate important points in the speech was, I think, a stroke of genius. And I don't think, look, Reagan was the first guy to use people in the gallery, but we've never seen anything quite like this before. And it was always attached to, it could be foreign policy, it could have been patriotism. Patriotism, of course, was a very big theme in here. My own take on the thing was this was just chock full of growth. He started out on economic growth, and he never really left that theme. He kept coming back to it again and again. And I believe the midterms will be determined on how people's growth is. And as Kevin Hassett said, and you got your refunds. Kevin's point is you got $1,400 in real income. That's from a stronger economy, and that's a big number. 1,400 in 1 year. That's actually on track. In the first term, I think that it was about 1,400 per year, so it was about $6,000, some such, and we're on track for that. And then so that's on top of the refunds. I just want to make that point that people this year are going to get the most refunds they've ever had because of policy changes and the IRS withholding delays. But there's also a big tax cut involved from the one big beautiful bill and from the stronger economy. It's almost a 3-4. I mean, if it works right, average median income, which is about $80,000 nowadays, slightly more than $80,000. If you put all that together, I don't know, you could get $6,000 or $7,000. If you're making 80,
substantial.
Right. That's a very big number. And
Can I ask a question? I don't want to poo-poo it, so come save me. But 1,400 is great, substantial, epic. I agree. Except that I have in a hole from the last 5 years. So 1,400 is great, but I'm still underwater. That, I feel like, is some of the undercurrent sentiment out there. Great, but still in a hole. How do you sort of combat that messaging?
Well, the point is here, look, there is a psychology to fight. And I think that has shown up in the polls all year, the hangover from Biden's lousy economy. Yeah. Right, no question. Prices rising faster than wages. Now that's turned around, and 1,400 is a good start. Yeah. But I think the other points are very important here. The refund point is very important. So you're going to get whatever, $4,000 refund, more or less, or I'm rounding. You're also going to get a tax cut from one big, beautiful bill. The tax cut, I think, comes, again, for a median family, these things like the child tax credit, for example, higher withholding for, it's another $1,500 or $1,600. So you start stacking that up, you're going to get almost back to par in year 2 from the Biden problem. That's really what's going to happen.
And by the way, the other thing you got from Kudlow was John Carney's announcing, because John Carney's a real economist for Breitbart who's done his homework, and he tracks a lot of prices. 71 prices have come down. It's not just the rate of inflation that has come down. It's things like gasoline, things like eggs that have literally come down. So while there are prices coming down, you are making real wages that are going up. So it is the best of both worlds there. And we did hear, apparently the president's been watching a lot of Kudlow, because he was putting out the figures. He was putting out John Carney's figures.
Well, yes, and very important point. Overall inflation is coming down, and key prices, household prices, grocery prices. But you have the point I want to make here to answer Taylor. There's an overlooked $220 billion tax cut in one big beautiful bill for median families. It's about 0.7% of GDP. This, according to the economists at Wells Fargo, and I read it in James Freeman's Wall Street Journal column. James Freeman is really the #1 honest guy on the Wall Street Journal.
Second time he's been praised in this show today, Larry.
Who does not suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. He actually looks at the numbers. So that's a big number. You stack it all up, you got 1% of GDP. That's the add-on. That's a big number.
So let me throw something else.
Now they have to sell that. And J.D. Vance has to sell it, but President Trump has to sell it. President Trump has to sell it. And I just want to make one more point about the speech. It's a generic point. Okay, he is selling his program. He's selling growth. He's selling safety and security and a closed border. He's selling patriotism as only he can, which is terrific stuff. He's also selling the Republican Party. Why do I say that? You'd think they'd fall into line. Well, in the first term, they didn't. And in the last 36 hours, but on Tuesday evening, I interviewed Speaker Johnson, and last night I interviewed Majority Leader John Thune, two guys who've been doing great work, in my opinion. And they both are standing by Trump. Now, here's the thing. John Thune, said to me last night, they may have to use a reconciliation 2.0. That is the first time any leader guy has said that yet. Mike Johnson wasn't quite there yet. Thune said we may have to do that. And he also talked about the talking filibuster. It's a little trickier, but in other words, to get through their policies, and that includes, he was very specific about the voting rights, for example, the photo ID and the citizenship, and the DHS, and defending ICE. They will do what it will take. Trump is selling his program to his own leadership in the Senate and the House. That is so important right now. And that was a little kernel, a little extra nugget from the speech.
Let me throw one other nugget into the conversation. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with tariffs this year after the Supreme Court said no to IEEPA and President Trump said yes to Section 122. Here's Jamieson Greer talking about that.
We expect to have continuity in what we're doing. Even right now, we have the 10% tariff. It'll go up to 15 for some, and then it may go higher for others. And I think it will be in line with the types of tariffs we've been seeing.
Jackie, what do you make of that, the guidance we're getting here?
I think, as I've said before, to me, the Supreme Court decision was kind of a non-event. He accomplished everything that he wanted to accomplish with the tariffs. Those reciprocal tariffs that were very high, they all came down, essentially, to around these levels. So we are used to it. We didn't see inflation peak as, spike up as a result of it, and everything's been great, and the growth is here. So I'm not really sure why everybody is all up in arms. I mean, the Democrats are always looking to attack him, and they are saying, well, now he's using Section 122 to, tax the American people. But, Larry, I love the point that you made about how he has actually unified the GOP in a way that we have never seen before. When you look at this Democrat Party, they are in complete disarray. Spamberger, who gave the rebuttal the other night, is, usually the person who gives the rebuttal is kind of like an up-and-coming leader of the party. That's your leader, Kamala and Newsom. Those are the three people you're putting out there. That is scary. I think his policies speak for themselves. I think the court, they did what they needed to do per the statute. I'm okay with that. And he's got another option.
She's a big taxer, by the way.
Who?
She's gonna
Spammer.
have
She's the worst.
Affordability by jacking up taxes across the board. I mean, it's really quite extraordinary. The one in New Jersey will do the same thing. This thing will be decided by the economy. That's all I can say. And the push will be made on the economy. I don't know how tariffs play. I personally favor his reciprocity policy. Okay, has that play politically? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be. You sit at the house, the kitchen table. How are you doing? How are you doing? And I think the answer is real wages have turned up, as Kevin Hassett noted, and others have said, and I applauded this. If that trend continues, then Trump will beat history. And if there's a guy that can beat history, it's Donald Trump.
Most of the people I talk to, Larry, will acknowledge that things aren't perfect, but they're better, and that he stopped the bleeding.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's
the
right.
one thing that I missed that I would have liked if he could have pinpointed. Of course, he did so much; it was impossible to do anything more. But if he had specifically talked about how much more it costs to live in a blue state because of energy costs and regulations.
Sure.
I mean, you look at they're just spending twice as much as the red states are on energy and on a whole slew of things that are caused by their overregulation.
And all the averages get skewed by that.
That there are two countries going on here, two experiments: socialism and free market capitalism.
Yeah, but hold on a second. You've got Republican seats in blue states.
Right.
So I wouldn't jump off the cliff on that one. I'd be very careful. Okay, I've been around this bend once or twice. You've got that. I also want to know. I don't know if you have the. I'm just saying. I don't know if you have the tape here or not, but part of what Trump did, State of the Union, he was gracious.
Yeah.
All right. Even when he was mocking they all must be crazy. He did it in a nice way, and he pointed out that they're not even standing up for a 100-year-old guy who got the Congressional Medal of Honor. They won't even stand up and applaud for him. The other thing he did that I loved, he came in and shook Judge John Roberts' hand, and he shook him, and he was very nice, and he didn't mock them, and he didn't yell at them the way Obama did a couple of years ago, and in fact he didn't really talk about any of that stuff because, as you said, it isn't that important. Not all that much is going to change in the first place. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was very cool. Trump at his best.
we have to go.
He was in a great mood.
I just want to add this, and I know that you know him. I don't know him, but he seems to be more of his authentic self in the second term than sort of some of the showmanship we saw in the first term. And this person is so much more likable.
If you know him, you know how gracious he is. Up close and personal. Honest to God. I mean, I could give you a million examples just from my own family, but that's the way he is. And he had a nice light touch, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's
it
right.
will play well.
Hey, somebody calls you crazy, it's fine if they meet it in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
He certainly did there. Coming up, the